Welcome back to the Veracious Podcast, family. This is just disturbing that I even have to have this type of dialogue, but I think this dialogue is important for those who are experiencing what I'm experiencing. Right to the point, my neighbor's racist. I live below a racist neighbor in my apartment complex. And one of the things that's been happening for some time now, which I thought may have remedied itself, and it hasn't, is that anywhere between the hours of 6 p.m. and 11 p.m., my neighbor will begin yelling, "You effing N-word," at the top of his lungs. I live in a predominantly minority community, so it's not just like it's just me or I moved into an area where I don't belong. That's not the case. And I'm assuming that he's playing video games of some kind because that's what it sounds like. You'll hear a rolling chair periodically, and then you'll hear, "You effing N-word, you effing N, you effing N," screaming at the top of your lungs. There are no other racial epithets that have been said, no other discriminatory words that are being used against any other racial group, no anti-Semitic statements that he's yelling out loud. It's the continuation of yelling the N-word. Today we're going to talk about when hate invades your home, racial harassment, trauma, and the right to peace. Everyone deserves peace. We all deserve peace, especially where you're spending your money. Welcome back to the podcast, guys. Today's episode is not light. It's motivational fluff. It's not something you just scroll past. Today we're talking about racial harassment, specifically what it means when hate follows you into the one place that's supposed to be your safe space, which is your home. It seems like in America that we can't escape it. No matter what we do, we just can't seem to escape racism here in America. And it's bewildering because from the people that I know and from my own personal experiences, we just want to be left alone. And I'm not speaking for all black people, but that statement may resonate with a lot of my people. We just want to be left alone. We don't want to be bothered. We don't want to be disturbed. We're out trying to build for our families. We're out to grow our families. We're out to experience life and the best that life has. But it seems like America just can't let this thing go. Recently, I experienced something disturbing, a neighbor repeatedly yelling the N-word, loudly, aggressively, and for hours. And I want to be clear about something from the start. This episode is not about reacting with violence, revenge, or rage. It's about naming harm, understanding power, and protecting your peace without surrendering your dignity. That's really what it's about. It's about approaching it from a logical standpoint, hopefully addressing it through the proper channels, and preventing it from happening ever again. I spend a decent amount of money where I live at, so it's just odd that you would be in a place. Mind you, I've been here before he even moved in, right? I was here some months before he even wound up moving in. It was another neighbor who was above me who was riding a skateboard. Yeah, a skateboard. I had to go up and address that because it kept sounding like someone was rolling luggage across the floor. Craziest thing. I don't know what happens in people's minds when they move into a community that your neighbors would like a little bit of respect and peace. And I want people to understand, because when hate is loud, silence is not neutral. Silence is what allows it to spread. And I think that's what's happened here in America, is that if you're quiet about the injustices of others, then you're complicit about the injustices of others. Keep that in mind. If you know there are things that are happening at the Thanksgiving table, or your spouse are saying words, or your kids are coming home saying these different words or these harmful words to a particular racial group, and you're not addressing it, that means you are complicit, or maybe you are even okay with what's happening. Part one, why words like this are not just words. Some people will say they're just words, ignore it, don't give them power. But that word, that particular word, it's not a neutral language. It carries generational violence, enslavement, lynching, dehumanization, and psychological warfare. Of course he's yelling the word for a particular reason. Of course he's trying to incite some type of response or reaction from his neighbors that may be in close proximity to him. Because what on earth would possess you to scream that word so loudly for so long and do it on a continual basis? That word was never meant to communicate. It was meant to reduce. That's the whole purpose of the word. The word is designed to hopefully reduce black people down to a lower level, to make them feel less than, to make black people feel as though that their life doesn't matter, or their life is 3/5 of a human being. When someone yells it loudly and repeats it, they're not just expressing free speech, They're engaging in intimidation. That's what I want to point out to you, that it's a form of intimidation. The reason why people use it is because they want you to feel intimidated. They want you to feel less than. They want to get under your skin. And intimidation is all about power. It says, I want you to know that I can invade your space. I want you to feel unsafe, and I want to remind you where I think you belong. It's not random. It's intentional. Someone yelling that for several hours throughout the night, playing video games. And the crazy part is, why would you even play video games with black people knowing that you're getting your boots smoked and you continue to just yell that word? Is that because obviously the black people that you're playing against are probably getting a sense of joy behind smoking your boots and watching you just spiral out of control. But your negative behavior, your childlike behavior is negatively influencing the community that is around you that desires peace. We all pay rent here. We all deserve peace. It's not random. Trust me, that's intentional. Part 2, why some people do this without excusing it. Why people do this. Understand behavior doesn't mean excusing it. Here are some of the reasons why people engage in prolonged racial harassment. Powerlessness turned outward. Some people feel insignificant in their own lives, so they try to reclaim power by demeaning others. That's often what it's about. It's a low-level individual, a low life form that actually wants to detract from those who are around them, and it makes them feel superior. Racism becomes a shortcut to superiority. It's learned. We live in a society now where it's open more than it ever has been in our communities. It's more than it ever has been in our communities, and I think that's part of the problem too, is that it continues to be enabled. I can't even figure out for the life of me, why is it us? Why is it black people? Why are we the targets of so much hatred and vitriol energy coming from people? Because all what we want to do is be left alone. It's learned hatred. Racism is taught, it's passed down, it's normalized. Some people never question it because it benefits them emotionally. That's why people don't address it. So if you're around family and friends and neighbors in your community who use these words or speak derogatorily about black people moving into the community, or how did they get that car? They must be a basketball player, probably a rapper. He's got a lot of jewelry on. All those things are designed to make them feel emotionally and mentally superior. It could be mental health or substance abuse. This can intensify repetition and volume. But hear me clearly. Mental illness does not cause racism. It only removes filters. That's what I want people to understand, because there is mental health in the United States and around the world. People do have issues, but I know a lot of people with mental health that don't result to racism. And I'll tell you, a person has a lot of control in their life because they will not go to work and use that same type of language. They know that they would be removed from the job so quickly because the job cannot afford to be associated outwardly with that type of behavior. They like testing boundaries. They want to see, will you react? Will management intervene? Will anyone protect you? Hate often escalates when it goes unchecked, and that's what happens. A lot of times, if I have to physically get involved or I have to physically address the situation, it can escalate into something that neither he or I would potentially want. But what other resorts do I have? Part 3, the trauma of living in a hostile environment. It is traumatizing. It really, really is traumatizing. And to know that my daughter could be here and hear him yelling those things, and her asking me, Dad, what are we going to do? Or like, wow, is he just yelling that the whole time? Does she even feel safe coming here? That could be the potential problem as well. Let's not talk about something people don't address enough. Racial harassment causes trauma. It creates hypervigilance, sleep disruptions, anxiety in your home, a feeling of being watched and targeted. Your body doesn't really know the difference between physical danger and psychological danger. It all puts us in a fight or flight type of mindset. And I think that's what people fail to realize. Anytime you shout or spew anger or vitriol or evil towards somebody, it puts them in a fight or flight type of mindset. Our nervous system stays activated. That's what winds up happening. That's why people say, I can't relax anymore. I don't feel safe even when it's quiet. That's not weakness. That's a biological response to the threat. That's how our bodies respond to the threat. And if someone who's already carrying stress from work, which I am, from life, which I am, from trying to be strong in all these times, this adds another layer of stress to our lives. Life is already stressful enough for a lot of people, but I think when it's layered with racism on top of it, it only makes it even worse for people. I think that's part of the problem. It makes it worse. And the question is why? Why? Someone answer why. Why are we still experiencing this in 2025? Why are black people still tasked with having to defend themselves against racial epithets and being less than? There's already a system that's upholding and protecting white people, and it's almost like that's not enough, that you have to shame and degrade those around you. It just doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense. Part 4, why this is not overreacting. Let me explain it clearly for you. If someone repeatedly yells racial slurs in a shared living space, that is harassment. They know what they're doing. It's intentional. They're trying to provoke a reaction. It can be legally considered a hostile living environment. It's discriminatory behavior. It's disturbance of the peace. In some cases, it's hate-based harassment. And trust me, you're not being too sensitive. If you're dealing with this, you're not being too sensitive. You're not being dramatic. You're not looking for trouble. You are asserting your right to live without intimidation. Peace is not luxury. It's a right. Peace is not luxury. It's actually a right that everybody deserves to have, especially in such a chaotic world that we live in. Everybody deserves to have some level of peace. Why we don't have the peace that we desire is just unexplainable to me. That means to tell me you can't even come to your home and relax with your family without being worried about what's going to happen to me tonight. This reminds me of scenes from like Rosewood. All right. You guys watched the movie Rosewood with Ving Rhames. It's an older movie, but it's a great watch if you get a chance. Just where the family was home cooking dinner, and before you know it, they're burning crosses in the front yard. What? Like, why? The family's not disturbing anybody. They have less property than you. They have less money than you. They have less resources than you. They're just trying to get by and survive. And this family is just literally targeted for no reason because of the skin color that they have. Part 5, what do we do about power without escalation? What do we do without power, without escalation? This is more important. You do not need to confront hate directly to be powerful. Here's what the real power looks like: documentation. If you're experiencing this where you live at, I begin the process of documenting. I've sent letters over. I'm going to begin writing down the dates, the times, exact words, the duration. This turns emotion into evidence. I have to begin creating a paper trail. I've emailed management. I will follow up. I'll stay factual, and the facts protect me. The other option that I may have is calling non-emergency police reports, calling it into the police department, non-emergency. And trust me, don't feel like you're snitching. You're not snitching or anything. You're just creating a record and documentation so that way you have evidence if it needs to move forward for litigious reasons or you need to go to court. Patterns matter. That's what I want people to understand. Patterns matter. Civil right protections also exist for situations like this. In the state of Connecticut, there's something called the Fair Housing Laws, which exists for a particular reason. It's designed to protect people from situations like this to where they are not being harassed in their own home, a place where you desire peace. Harassment doesn't need to be physical. It can just be mental and emotional. Power is quiet, strategic. You have to remain strategic, and you have to be patient. I'm remaining patient as possible with this process, hoping that the management can remedy this situation to some extent, whatever that looks like, up to maybe making him move out. Will they do that? I don't know. I really don't know. We'll find out what happens if management really cares about their people. Part 6, there's a spiritual and emotional layer. Let's talk about spirituality for a moment. There's a spiritual and emotional layer to what's happening. When hate shows up unprovoked, it often says more about the inner chaos of the person projecting it than the worth of the person receiving it. When a person's hateful towards you for no reason other than your skin color, they have a very low moral value of themselves. They don't really like themselves, and you can't convince me otherwise. They feel less than. Anybody intimidated based on how you look is crazy. That's mind-boggling to me that we have people in this world that feel less than, and they feel intimidated just based on someone else's skin color. Mind you, there's a 400-year head start here in America, so it's almost like you have all the property, you have all the money, you have all the wealth, you have all the resources, you own the court systems, you own the hospitals, you own the banking systems, you own most of the houses, you own the schools, you own the military, you own law enforcement. What more do you want from us? What do you want? Like literally, like what could you potentially want from people like us? We just want peace. That's all black folks want is peace. And that even seems to be troubling to those who don't have internal peace. But here's the truth. Your existence is not the problem. Your presence may challenge some in them. Your presence may challenge something in them. You feel guilty. You feel insecure. You feel like you're losing control. These are things that are happening internally with people who spew racism and hatred. Light irritates what lives in the darkness. Whoa. I'll say that again. Light irritates what lives in the darkness. So when you carry a specific light about you, just being who you are, that will always irritate those who don't have their lives together, those who internally hate themselves. They will always be irritated by it, and they will always try to make you fall off your game some particular way. And choosing dignity over reaction, that's a real strength that I have, or in that you have as well, that you got to choose dignity over reaction, because reaction isn't getting us anywhere, right? The other caveat is people would say, well, why don't you call the police? The police aren't black people's friends. You don't know what cops will show up. You don't know their mindset when they show up. And that's a sad thing to think about when you think about law enforcement here in this country. You want to believe that the boys in blue would come back you. You want to believe that they would come and support you in this narrative, but they may be all for it. You don't know what they do in their personal lives. Oftentimes than not, in this community, probably going to be some white cops that show up. Probably will be. And when the white cops show up, what does that mean for somebody that looks like me? Where do they go with that? Do they even document it when they go back to the station? Do they even go and address it with the neighbor, or do they just keep it moving? They may not even respond at all. They may take it as, well, it's not a problem. That's a management issue. It's not a crime being committed. We don't really see it as harassment because it's a black guy. Let them deal with it, right? We don't really care. That's the take that we have when it comes to dealing with law enforcement. Law enforcement has predominantly never been the friend of the black community. Can't think of a time. And even when black cops don that uniform, they become part of that system, and they are no longer seen as an ally towards the black community. Part 7. A message to anyone experiencing this. This is directed at you. If you're listening to this and experience racial harassment, I want you to hear this. You're not crazy. You're not weak. You are not alone. Your feelings are valid. Your anger makes sense, and your exhaustion is real. Your exhaustion is real. I want to say that to you. It can be very exhausting being black in America. I think people often forget that don't live this black experience, that how exhausting it is to live in America as a black man. There's so many things we have to think about, worry about, our facial demeanor at work, how we conduct ourselves, our behaviors. We have to be 10 times as good to get the least amount of response or results from the behavior or the actions that we take here in America. It's crazy. Everybody can't be LeBron James, but they're expecting everybody to be a LeBron James with less than results. You can be firm without being hateful. You can be assertive without becoming reckless, and you can stand on your ground without surrendering your humanity. Stand your ground. I encourage you to remain encouraged through this process, and I encourage you to work towards a logical solution, hopefully, with people, because it just doesn't make sense. I would think as a management community that this wouldn't be tolerated, that this would be something that people just wouldn't accept, that this is just not in our wheelhouse. We don't tolerate this type of behavior. So again, I'm waiting to hear the response. I didn't choose this topic because it was easy. I chose it because it's necessary. I often come on my show here and try to put in motivational quotes or try to keep you thinking in a positive stream. But also, too, I need to talk about the realness. That's what the Veracious Podcast is about. We talk about what's real on this podcast, real life situations. We talk about things that's going to hopefully expand the consciousness and hopefully unite people over time. Maybe some of this dialogue that we're having on the podcast can hopefully unite people. Is that possible? I still want to believe that America can be better than what it is. Can it be saved? I don't think so. I don't think it can be saved. But I do believe that there is a tiny bit of humanity that is left in some of us. And if we can get those small amount of people to unite in this process, that would be amazing. That would really be amazing. It would be. Hate just thrives in silence. Healing begins with truth. In this episode, if it resonated with you, please share it. Please share it with a friend or family member or coworker, somebody who you know may experience it, or somebody who can bring some societal change or some micro change in your community, in your family, amongst your friend group, because it's foolish. The fact that I even have to have this conversation on the podcast is foolish, but it's very necessary. I want people to spread the awareness. And if you're dealing with something similar, document. Protect your peace, and remember you deserve safety where you lay your head. This is not about a lion or a gazelle. This is about being human. Thank you for listening. Stay grounded, stay whole, and don't let the hate tell you who you are. Always believe in yourself. Always stay with the Veracious Podcast. Like, subscribe, share, and we're going to have some more good stuff coming for you guys. I really appreciate you. Take care. And that's a wrap.